Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're going to talk about a new palette from MAC. This is one of the new ×9 eyeshadow palettes, and this one is all matte. It's called the Semi-Sweet ×9. These are coming out on March 2nd. I think this video is going to go up on March 3rd, so by the time you're watching this, these should already be out. They are limited edition. They will be going away in mid-April. I think April 13th is the last day to get them. And like all the other 9pan palettes, these will retail for $32 each. MAC was kind enough to send this to me ahead of the launch so that I could share it with you guys, but this video is not sponsored. They're not paying me to talk about it. They just send me the stuff, and if I want to talk about it, I do. So I am. This is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. I'm only wearing one other eyeshadow because this one is all matte and I like a shiny inner corner highlight. So I did bring in one extra shadow, but if you're interested in seeing how I got my eye look with this palette, just stick around to the end of the video and I'll show you kind of a quick tutorial of how I got this really warm smoky eye. Okay, let's get into the swatches now. As always, I'm going to do finger and brush swatches. For my brush swatches, I'm using my e.l.f. flat shader brush, and I'm cleaning off the brush in between with my Vera Mona color switch. Here is the top row of shadows. On top are the finger swatches and below are the brush swatches. These swatch so beautifully with a brush. I mean, I think that the pigmentation looks the same, which is incredible, especially for mattes. First, we have the shade Drawing a Blank. This is Bamboo. And lastly, this really cool mustard shade is called Outer. Here's the next row of swatches. Again, finger swatches on top and brush swatches below. Look how gorgeous those brush swatches are. Stop it. They're so pretty. Okay, I'm calming myself down. This is the shade Pink Sienna. In the middle, this warm brown is called Mocha Minded. And this really gorgeous, like burgundy, deep burgundy shade is called Everyone's Darling. And this is what I have on the outer corners of my eyes today. This shade is so beautiful. For the very last row of shadows, we have the three dark shades. I do think these end up coming off looking pretty similar. I mean, you can tell a difference between these two, but overall, I do think these kind of look the same. We have the shade Persuade, Dance in the Dark, and then the classic MAC black shadow called Carbon. So before we get to the tutorial, I just want to give you kind of an overview on my thoughts about this palette. I really enjoy this. My main complaint is that the bottom three deepest shadows do look pretty similar once they are out of the pan. I think they look more different in the pan than they do once they're applied. However, I think the formula of these mattes is so great. I don't know if you've tried any of the old ×9 palettes. I actually wasn't a huge fan of them. I found them a lot more kind of dry and chalky than the classic MAC eyeshadows, which I love MAC eyeshadows. So I used to not be a fan of the 9pan palettes. I just found them a little underwhelming. But these new palettes are reformulated. I do think these mattes are up to par with MAC eyeshadows. They're so smooth. They just blend so easily. I am a huge fan of the shade selection here. There is another new ×9 palette called Red Hot that I really want to get my hands on, so I'm going to go pick that up, probably buying it right now while you're watching this video. I think these are great. I'm so glad to see MAC improving the formula of their ×9 palettes, and I really hope that they will revamp the entire line. But this is such a great deal. I love the small little travel size packaging. If you have any other MAC eyeshadow palettes, this packaging is the same quality. It has that same kind of magnetic closure. These are super sturdy for traveling and also just so cute. Isn't it just so cute and little? One thing I do feel that I need to say, if you're not familiar with MAC matte eyeshadows, there is a decent amount of powder kick-up when you dip a brush into these because they are so intensely pigmented. So as long as you tap off your brush between dipping into the eyeshadow and applying to your eye, I don't have any fallout at all as long as I tap my brush off, but I do see some decent powder kick-up, which is actually, in my opinion, a good sign because it means that the shadow is really pigmented. I think these are a great formula, a great deal, and a great little like travel palette. If you're someone who travels a lot or likes to take your makeup to touch up on the go, this palette will be perfect for you. Okay, let's get into the tutorial now. And if you're curious about any of the other products that I'm wearing on my face or on my nails, a lot of people ask about my nail polish too, just check the description box and I'll list everything that I'm wearing down in the description box below for you. I'm starting off by priming my eyelids with my MAC Paint Pot in Painterly. I really like to use this because it covers all the veins on my eyes and it's also a great primer. If you have a deeper or more olive skin tone, then you would probably prefer the Paint Pot in Ochre, but if you're a pale girl like me, you'll love Painterly. I'm going to set that down with the white shade from the palette. This is called Drawing a Blank, and I'm just using a fluffy brush to kind of dust that everywhere that I put the paint pot on my lids so that I'll have a smooth surface for blending because we're going to layer a lot. Now I'm using the shade Bamboo on a slightly smaller fluffy brush, and I'm just kind of quickly putting that into my crease. I'm not being very precise because I'm going for a really blown out smoky look, and I'm gonna layer a lot of shadows on top. So I'm just sort of putting this down as a base, but I'm not really worrying about being too precise. I'm just kind of setting it down as a starting point. Now I'm going to use Everyone's Darling, this really beautiful wine shade, and I'm using a flat brush here, and as you can see I'm kind of stamping it down. I'm not really brushing this or blending it, I'm just packing it on the outer part of my lid to start to really build up some pigmentation there. And again, I'm going to be layering a lot of shades, so I'm not really worrying about being perfectly precise here, just starting to lay out where I want this shade to be, and then I'm going to worry about blending it out more as I build up the shades on my eyelids. For the rest of my lid, I'm going to use the shade Pink Sienna. I really love this shade for some reason, and I know it looks super crazy right now, but just trust me. I'm packing this onto my lid and I'm gonna keep blending out as I go, but again, just laying out where I want the colors at this point. Now I'm using my transition shade and I'm gonna blend the first layer of my shadows into my crease using the shade Bamboo, just really working those shadows together and starting to blend out the edges so that everything looks really soft and smoky and a little bit blown out. And we're going to go back and repeat the same steps. So I'm going to transition shade, then I'm going back with Pink Sienna and blending the two shades on my lids together so that they look nice and soft and there's no real line between them, and also just building up the color as well. Now I'm going to use Everyone's Darling again, and I'm going to intensify that shadow on the outer corners of my eyes, and again just making sure to soften the lines in between all the different shades. I love the way this looks. It's so dramatic, but it's also really wearable. I wore this during the daytime just with a light lip color, and it looks sultry and sexy, but it's not so dramatic that it's unwearable. Now I have a little bit of Pink Sienna on this fluffy brush, and I'm just softening everything up and trying to make a nice smooth transition with the darker shade. Then I'm going to go back with the brush that I used to apply Bamboo into my crease, but I didn't put any additional product on this brush. I'm just using what's left on here to kind of smooth out the edges and really make sure everything is blended. Never too much blending. Now I'm using my inner rim liner from Tarte, and I'm putting that in my lower waterline. This just really helps to brighten up the look, and I think it helps to tone down the smokiness and make it a little more wearable for a daytime look. And I'm going to use the shade Dance in the Dark on a really skinny angled brush, and I'm just smudging that along my upper lash line to give sort of a smoky, smudgy liner look without actually applying eyeliner. You could definitely make this more dramatic by adding a wing liner or some false eyelashes, but I'm keeping it a little more toned down today. Now I'm going to just do a little brow bone highlight with that matte white shade called Drawing a Blank, and this also helps to smooth out the edges of the shadows that are in the crease. Next, I'm moving on to the lower lash line, and on that same angled little liner brush, I'm using the shade Persuade on the outer part of my lower lash line, and then I'm going to blend this shadow out using the shade Bamboo. I'm just going to sort of smoke it and smudge it out and kind of soften that lower lash line a little bit using a really flat brush. Still smoking, still smudging. Smudgy, smudgy, smoky, smudgy. Okay, gotta do a shiny inner corner here. I'm using one of my favorite inner corner highlight shades. This is Nylon, also from MAC. I've gotta have that pop-in inner corner, so a matte shade's just not gonna do it for me. Then I curled my lashes and added some Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. And that's the finished look. I really love how this turned out. I loved working with these shadows, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed creating it. As always, I want to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about these new palettes, which one you're excited for, what shades are you just feeling for spring. I love hearing your thoughts and reading your comments, so thank you so much for taking the time to leave those. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. How many new ones are they launching? Maybe I should know that. Like, before I start filming a video about it. You don't have to justify yourself to anyone with your swatch hand. Okay, brushy swatchy, brushy swatchy. Oh, these brush swatches are so freaking good. Really? Really, Mac? You got me there. It's freaking hailing outside. Whoa. That looks bad. I'm glad I'm in here with you guys and my eyeshadows. Yikes. I thought my patio furniture was blowing away. Okay. It's fine. These brush swatches look better than the finger swatches. How they do that? Wait, say that last. Say the other thing first and then say that last. You got this. You got this.